Maybe he's still on daylight savings time.
Possible.
What was that laugh? You did like a. I don't think I've ever heard you laugh like that before.
It's because you've never cracked a joke about daylight savings time. That's my daylight savings time laugh.
Did you do some work on this pitchers on the block mid-season question?
Nope. Nope.
That's kind of a research heavy.
Well, in a way, I mean, what it comes down to is there aren't that many. There aren't as many as there used to be, or there has been in the last few years, just because that's not where the Cubs are right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Amel could be, but he's probably not. They didn't sign a bunch of one-year guys.
Isn't it? No, I think what he means is it's a guy like other teams are going to have these players on the block and the Cubs might go for them because they're.
Oh, well, I guess Hamels, I suppose it's possible. I mean, any of those guys that aren't locked up that, this is their Samardzija and
Yeah, I
uh,
just thought of Samardzija and that.
Hamels, um, Zimmerman.
I guess anybody could be a free agent next season.
Yeah, maybe just pull up that list.
Yeah, I have it. The only problem is I don't know what team all of these guys play for. It doesn't say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think Zimmerman will be that much of an option just because I think that the
Because of the
Nationals will
Nationals.
be in
Yeah,
it.
I do too.
Well, they should be. I mean, that's a pretty freaking weak division.
Right.
So anybody watching, we're waiting for Kurt. I wonder if he didn't get it, the invite.
It always comes to me in a different way. Like sometimes it pops up like a chat, like a Google chat window thing, and then sometimes it's in my social tab in my email.
That's stupid.
I
And,
guess
and
it's
like you guys don't show up for me like you used to. Like now I have to search through every Andrew Round that's on Google Plus.
which there's a ton of them.
I know.
There's a ton of them in England. This place is just lousy with Andrew Rounds.
There's Kurt. Okay. And my lower third's not working, is it? You don't see it, do you?
No, I don't. You see mine?
Yeah. I don't know.
Man, check out that Kurt shirt.
Yeah. I know. I almost wore mine. I pulled out my Cubs shirts today. I started packing my bags.
Oh man.
I like that hat.
This hat,
I gotta get one of those low crown ones.
they Smokies changed it. The TS just slightly. It's thinner now.
Oh, you got.
Do you like it
You're
beefier
old
or
school.
thinner?
I like it beefier just because it's the one I have, but actually the thinner one a little bit better. You look at like this area here, like the T and the S come together. It's kind of one big blob.
Oh yeah, it is.
They kind of cleaned it up a little bit, so there's more space between stuff. I was trying to buy like a Cubs like throwback low crown, and they're almost all sold out. They don't have any left.
I was thinking I might, go through the shop there at spring training and see if I can find a low, because I really want to try one on to see if it looks. I don't know. I mean
Well, that's kind of the deal with all these 5950 hats is you have to try. You should buy them in person.
Yeah.
Because some of the regular ones are ridiculously like straight up, and some aren't so bad.
Right.
And then some of the low crowns are really flat, and some are they're like every hat is different. Plus every size, even though it's the same size, is kind of a little bit off.
Yeah. Kurt, what's your internet speed like right now?
Why is it sketchy?
Well, it's better right now than it was when you were just talking a second ago.
Should be good.
Little robotic there for a second.
Well, and I noticed the video was pretty choppy, where yours is usually the most steady.
Flash is such a pain in the ass. Let me just say that. I can't run speed tests because Flash won't work.
Brett is in the chat and asked what everybody's drinking tonight. He said he's drinking 312.
Hey, I've got the 312 green stuff because my wife bought it by accident.
The kid that gets the green stuff out of the fridge instead of the Sunny D.
Oh yeah, my internet's a lot slower than it normally is. Like 5.
Yeah, I can tell.
I don't know why. I
You
wonder if
city
Lana's...
folks and your slow internet.
My wife might be streaming something.
Yeah, last week, about halfway through, I noticed that things were going slow for me, and I went upstairs when we were done, and all three. One of my daughters was on an iPad watching YouTube. The other one was on she treats it like an iPod, and she was streaming Netflix, and Tawny was streaming Netflix. I was like, really? Like, I don't.
I do this thing in the basement, like been doing it for 7 years.
Guys, I'm just broadcasting to the entire world, and you're up here streaming.
She's not. I think we just must.
What's that?
What are you drinking?
I'm having a Pale 31 by Firestone Walker. It's pretty good.
I did drink a whole bunch of Surly this weekend, though.
Oh, yeah, that's supposed to be
'Cause
good.
you can buy it in Iowa now.
Oh, man.
At least in Iowa City, you can buy like almost all of the different styles.
Nice. Was it pretty
I
good?
drank way too much Surly.
Did you
get
check in
Surly?
even?
I didn't, as we were out at my in-laws, and I have like no service out there, and their Wi-Fi is garbage. So I
And
was
you
never
didn't want to
really
be like your son-in-law is staring at an app
son-in-law.
that's dedicated to beer.
He's checking in.
He's,
He's checking
My
in for his
son's-
beer, guys.
It's my son's birthday. Hold on, don't sing happy birthday yet. I gotta check this in.
I gotta untap this shit.
this beer is like I tapped some.
Hold on. I gotta give this 4 caps. Hold on, guys.
I've tapped things that belong to you guys, and now I'm gonna untap.
Good thing I'm not rating your singing, Grandma. That was terrible. Speaking of, I'm gonna go get another beer.
Yeah, same.
I'll be back.
All right. As soon as those guys get back, we'll get started. Oh, by the way, I'm drinking water. I can't really do just like one beer. It ends up giving me a headache, and mornings are early here at our place. So when the kids get on the bus at 6:30 in the morning, there's not really time to nurse a inexplicable one beer hangover. Andy, I've been extremely cautious this weekend. My back is hurting really bad this weekend. Like,
Oh, really?
Like it did before I ended up in the hospital for 4 days. Like it feels like that, and so I've been like so careful because I'm like, if this thing goes out, there's no way there's no way I'd be able to go to spring training.
Oh yeah. So does it hurt more when you sit for a long time? I mean,
No,
like.
sitting feels good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So being in the car's not.
No. I'll be fine with that. I built a chicken brooder yesterday, and
Why are we not recording right now?
What'd you guys do this weekend?
I got on Meerkat earlier and gave a tour of it.
You did? I missed that.
I wanted to test it out. But anyways, yeah, so it's 4x4, 4 feet by 4 feet, and I just had a lot of lumber to cut and everything like that, and try to get everything put together. So I strained it somehow, and I was like, oh crap, here we go. And so I've been taking it easy today. I didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere, because I'm like, I cannot end up in the freaking hospital. On top of the fact, it's enough to 4 days in a hospital is basically enough to bankrupt you.
Yeah. I went bowling and my back is sore from. That's the most physical activity I've done. What?
Welcome to the Geriatric Chat podcast.
I was just telling Tawny today, today it just kind of hit me, almost to the point where I got a little bit depressed, because I was watching something on YouTube or something, and it was like a pickup basketball game, and I was like, man, I will never get to do anything like that again. I'll never be able to bowl again. I was just thinking of all these things I'll just never be able to do. It's kind of depressing.
That is kind of depressing.
Think I will never in my life ever before I die be able to go bowling.
Wow.
I mean, I can go
it's
to
not
bowling
even
alley.
it's just not an option.
I wouldn't try
Even
it.
if you did physical therapy to
They'd have to bring out one of those things where I could put the ball on it and then it would roll it down for me.
We did that with Leo with a ramp.
I would need a ramp to go bowling.
Does that mean no tantric sex either?
No.
The Kama Sutra book's been thrown out.
Yeah. I can only use 3 pages.
Ooh, this one looks good.
Ooh, missionary?
Troy has to work too hard at that.
I don't know, man. It really sucks. It does.
Oh, that does suck.
But there's nothing I can do about it, so. Oh well.
You can get addicted to pain meds and just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how people do, but
yeah,
I've tried really hard to. I avoid it at all costs. I have taken muscle relaxers the last couple of days though. Just I don't know. I can't let it ruin spring training. Can't do it. All right. Well, I think I'm ready. If you guys are, let's do a sound test real quick.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
All right. I think we're good.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
Hi, this is Matt Macer, Patreon supporter. This episode of IVND is brought to you by supporters like me.
We have actual baseball to talk about on this week's episode, as the first 4 days of spring training are in the books. We will talk about some of the individual performances based on what we've seen and heard so far in spring training 2015. We will answer listener questions and read some internet muscle flexes. All of these things and more on this episode. It is March 8th, 2015, and you're listening to the 299th episode of the IV. I'm gonna push record this time.
That would be helpful.
You made it almost as far as you can make it.
I know.
The
I know.
IVND podcast.
Podcasts. Oh, I forgot to push record. Okay, here we go. By the way, this is okay. Here, the intro thing that I'm playing, and Matt is Matt Maester, and his is the one. Kurt, did I play it for you when you were out here?
Where he hits the keypad buttons.
Matt Macer, Patreon supporter.
Can you guys hear that?
This episode of IVND is brought to you by supporters like me.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know if he did that on purpose or if it was on accident. I don't know whether I should leave it in. I don't know. I think I'm just going to cut it short.
Yeah, probably.
Didn't you ask him about it in our hangout? I thought you did.
No, I didn't ask him.
Oh, yeah.
I should have. Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is Matt Macer, Patreon supporter. This episode of IVND is brought to you by supporters like me.
We have actual baseball to talk about on this week's episode, as the first 4 days of spring training are in the books. We will talk about some of the individual performances based on what we've seen and heard so far in spring training 2015. We will answer listener questions and read some internet muscle flexes. All of these things and more on this episode. It's March 8th, 2015, and you're listening to the 299th episode of the Podcast Awards finalist, the IVMV Podcast. Hi, and thanks for listening to this week's episode of the IVMV Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and I'm joined by the other two hosts of this podcast through a Google Plus Hangout.
Hey, it's Andy.
And Kurt.
Because we use Google Plus Hangouts, we're able to stream these recordings live, and if you go to ivmv.com/live on Sunday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Central, you can watch the live stream and join in the chat. Although I'm not sure what time next week's episode will be as far as the live broadcast goes. That's our 300th episode. Andy and I will be at spring training, and with the 2-hour time difference and stuff, I'm not sure if we'd be ready at 8:30 Central. So if you want to watch that episode with us at spring training, just stay tuned to our Facebook and Twitter, and we'll let you know when we're about to go live. We're going to talk more about next week's episode and the spring training meetup and everything else later in the show. We would like to take a second to thank all of you that nominated us for the Podcast Awards. Last Sunday night, they announced the finalists, and for the second year in a row, we are one of the 10 finalists in the sports category for the Podcast Awards. Good job, guys.
Yeah, great job.
Let's all congratulate each other.
High fives all around.
Yeah, and we're up against some really tough competition. Dan Patrick.
Who's he?
Yeah. Matthew Berry of ESPN. He does a fantasy football podcast. Steve Austin. I'm guessing that's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Chris
I think he
Jarrett.
talks about beer.
I don't know. Like, I don't think they've included professional wrestlers in the sports category before. I don't listen to their show, so I don't really know if they talk about sports or if it's just because they're, sports figures, I guess. If it's a sport, I would think it would fall into entertainment, but
Maybe we should put it on the playlist for our drive down.
yeah, let's do that.
You should listen to everyone we're up against.
Matthew Berry, he's the ESPN Fantasy Focus Football podcast. They've won this several years in a row, and really, we're just honored to be considered one of the top 10 sports podcasts. I don't think we are one of the top 10 best sports podcasts, but I do think that we have an audience that's pretty kick-ass and helped put us there. So thank you, everybody that nominated us. If you want to vote for us, you can vote every day from now until March 24th at podcastawards.com. And it's kind of a pain. They do where you can vote every single day. The reason that they do that is to kind of help podcasts like us, because if it was just everybody voted on one day, then like if Dan Patrick mentions it on his show, then we can forget about winning. So the idea is if you have a more like loyal and engaged audience that's going to go every day, then that kind of gives you an advantage. But like I said, I think it's pretty cool. We're finalists, and I'm content with that. But if you want to vote for us and see me have to go up and give an acceptance speech. Yeah, but go ahead and vote for us. So the winner is announced at the Podcast Awards ceremony in Las Vegas in April, and I'll be going out to that. And I don't know. Last year I had my speech ready, just in case we happened to beat ESPN. And then after they won, I realized how ridiculous it was that I even had a speech ready. So I don't know. I might just
so this
wing
year,
it
no
this time.
speech, and maybe we'll win.
Yeah, there we go. Let's do that. Okay, so we do have and this little thing here is more for our local listeners, local in the Quad Cities. Andy, you wrote a blog post about 45 of the Cubs broadcasts. Do you want to quickly mention it on here for anybody that didn't see it on our website?
Yeah, sure thing. We finally got word that our local ABC affiliate, WQAD, is going to be picking up 45 Cubs games this season, and those games are going to be aired on their, it's called MyTV 8-3 sub channel, and so those are actually the WGN TV games, the local Chicago market games, and I was surprised that they're not the ABC 7 games. Those are not going to be picked up by WQAD apparently, but that's 45 more games that we weren't going to be able to watch that we now will be able to watch. So it's pretty cool. For me, I have cable. I have Mediacom, and a lot of people are boo-hiss about Mediacom. But when I go to my guide, it just shows up as a separate channel, like 716, I think, on my guide. So it's near where my regular ABC channel shows up on my guide. So I'm not really sure about DirecTV subscribers.
It's not on DirecTV.
Okay.
8.3 is.
You'd have to have a separate antenna.
Right. Which, I mean, if you're local to the Quad Cities, you could get one for like what, $20 or $25.
I would think,
do the trick.
Yeah.
You know, we're further out, so we would have to get one of the bigger ones. But
so anyway, that's good news because
Yeah.
something people are sweating.
right, and if you're listening and you're not around the Quad Cities, like most of our listeners aren't, but you are in the Midwest, you know, these things are starting to trickle in. I saw, actually, we were involved in a Twitter conversation with the station there in Cedar Rapids, Kurt, and they said that they're close to being able to announce it or something.
Would that
like
be KCRG?
Yes, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and they seem like it because they've in the past, I think, carried the WCIU games for the Cubs, and they've also played a bunch of White Sox games, so they seem like a likely home. And so I think I don't know, we don't know what the number will be, but obviously they'll be announcing something fairly soon. Hopefully
Right.
it's the same, like 45.
Yeah,
It does seem like news is trickling in from cities all over. The Cubs. What word am I looking for?
Viewing,
I guess like their viewing area, or
the local market, you mean?
yeah, the
Which
local
includes all
market.
Iowa.
Anyway, it sounds like affiliates all over around
Right, I know.
Chicago are starting to pick up the games.
and Peoria did, and I know that some, like in Indiana, have. So, the best thing to do is I guess really just do a Google search, and that can tell you whether or not these games are, any of these networks or affiliates have picked it up. But you could also, I think it seems like that station there in Cedar Rapids, Kurt, is that an ABC?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it seems like it's a
KCRG.
lot of the ABC networks that are, or affiliates that are picking it up. So I guess that'd be a good place to start. So the meat of this episode is going to be a little more free-flowing as we discuss our thoughts on spring training so far, what we've seen and heard from the team. But before we do that, the Cubs added a left-hander to the bullpen. Andy, tell us about Phil Koch.
Yeah, Phil Koch is 32.232 years of age, and he's a 7-year veteran, and his career has been split between the Yankees and Detroit, most recently Detroit. But he's a left-handed relief pitcher. The Cubs signed him to a minor league contract, but that'll be a $2.25 million plus incentives if he makes the big league roster. And the interesting part of this story is that he apparently turned down a guaranteed major league deal to sign with the Cubs. And a lot of people question why he would do that. And so he was quoted by several media people, including Patrick Mooney, as saying, "This team is on the brink of doing something very special." But you kind of get the sense that the Cubs, I don't know, maybe kind of telegraphed that they were planning on bringing him along with the team and him making the big league roster. I just have a hard time believing that he would turn down a guaranteed deal. The Cubs are on the brink of doing something special, but I don't know if I believe that. But at any rate, with the departure of Wesley Wright, that really does leave the door open for Coke because like I always like to say is you better make sure if you're trying to have a good time to leave the door open for Coke. But
2015, leaving the door open for Coke.
Because the other options the Cubs have for, I guess, left-handed specialists include a lot of young guys. I guess Zach Roskup would be maybe one of the other favorites, but you have Drake Britton, Hunter Cervenka, Joseph Ortiz. And then you have the guys kind of vying for the fifth starter role, which would be maybe Felix Dubrant, Tsuyoshi Wada, Travis Wood. And so it seems like in a lot of other blogs and media outlets have reported stuff to this effect that Coke has sort of the edge over the others, given his experience. He has playoff experience, kind of extensive playoff experience. And then those guys vying for the fifth starter role that are lefties would probably really be better long relief guys than loogies.
Right.
So the splits also seem to indicate that Coke is a good matchup pitcher. His numbers against lefties are pretty good, but he's not necessarily the guy that his splits seem to indicate that he should be taking an entire inning. So that's Phil Coke. If he looks anywhere close to sharp, I imagine that he has a great shot of making the roster.
Yeah. Well, that sums up Coke. You actually talked way more about Coke than I thought you would.
Yeah, sorry. I feel apologetic even for talking that much about Coke.
No, it's good.
Sometimes
all right.
You just get a little carried away with the Coke.
Yeah. Just for the taste of a Diet Coke.
Okay, so these spring training games are kind of tough to consume. Not all of us can line up a paternity leave with a period of baseball that's the most difficult to access. Kurt, I imagine you're taking in quite a bit of these games.
Scheduling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened, but the challenge of paternity leave is sometimes you just fall asleep in the middle of it. So I miss my fair share of.
And you may have other obligations.
Yeah. Nap time.
Right. I listened to the radio.
And Coke.
Right. I listened to the radio broadcast the first 2 days. During the first day with the two split squad games, I was kind of jumping back and forth between the two. Andy, it's probably been a little bit tougher for you to listen to these games.
Yeah, I've listened to a few though, especially over this weekend. And my prep period at school is in the afternoon, the last period of the day, so I actually turn it on at work too.
Do you play it through your smart board?
I could, yeah. I usually just put it on my phone, but yeah.
Yeah. So I guess based on what's happened here in these first 4 days, what stood out to you guys? I mean, I don't even know what you guys are going to talk about, so we can just let this flow.
Well, one, I mean, for me was that Lester was so dominant in his first start. I mean, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that he could go out there and pitch 2 dominant innings, but it at the very least, calms the people who are likely to freak out if he doesn't. So that was good to see. I mean, he pitched 2 innings and I think he gave up 1 hit and struck out 3. And he was pretty efficient and he had to do some more work in the bullpen. So that was a pretty positive thing, given some of the other pitchers have had rougher first starts. So that was good to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it pretty frustrating to talk about spring training at this point because the sample sizes are so small and you can't even really find many trends to talk about at all or anything like that. So it is kind of tough. But
Oh, did
I
you
think,
just want to wrap up this episode then, Andy?
yeah. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'm just saying it was kind of
No, I
kind
hear
of
you.
hard
I
to
know.
think.
It's completely pointless that we have to talk about it.
But you know what? For the first time in 5 months, we actually have baseball to talk about. So it kind of feels good that although we can't. Yeah, you're right, Andy. We can't see any trends or anything like that. Not only is there a small sample size, but you also have pitchers that aren't even showing anything of what they have. They're just a lot of times just throwing fastballs and just trying to locate and stuff like that, rhythm and things. But
Doing
Right.
work.
But I mean, there are plenty of fun moments so far. I mean, Kyle Schwarber's grand slam stands out to me as a pretty
Right.
exciting moment in spring training so far. And he worked back he was kind of in the hole in that at bat and worked back and was able to do a ton of damage with his bat, like we know he has the potential to do. So that was exciting. Today's game, Schwarber also showed a ton of hustle as a ball hit to center field was dropped, and he was able to make it to third base on that. And so
that's respecting 90 right there.
that's what
That's
respecting 90 times 3, or is it 90? Is it even 90 feet from first to second? Okay.
Aren't they all?
Anyway,
Yes.
so
I would
anyway,
say going off of that note about Schwarber, that whole opening day split squad lineup was pretty cool to see because on base I think was Bryant and was Soler maybe too, but in that lineup was and Castillo. But yeah, you had Bryant, Soler, Russell, Schwarber all in one lineup, which was pretty exciting. I mean, so these split squad games give us the opportunity to see some things that we might see in the very near future.
yeah.
At the major
that is
level.
kind of a nice thing. I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but that's also Mike Olt hit a home run in one of those split squad games. But I don't know. I'm pretty much ready to give up on him. He's striking out at a 90 or at a 50% clip during spring training, guys. I'm just that's
That
enough
trend
right
is-
there.
7 at bat.
No, but Olt has had some good at bats. In one of his strikeouts, I think it was in that same game, he worked the count full and then fouled off a bunch of pitches. Obviously, last year was not a high point in Olt's career. Well, let's hope it's not a high point. I don't think it can get worse. But he had a 160 batting average and a strikeout rate close to 40%. He did get the strikeouts down to a more manageable level after they demoted him to AAA. But he was talking about last season and this season, and he said he feels like it's night and day compared, last season compared to this year as far as how he feels at the plate. Which we hear that stuff every single year. There's somebody. They're in the best shape of their life. There's all sorts of those things we hear at spring training. But he said that last year he told everyone that his swing was there, and it was. But remember that the concern was with his eye issue, and he said that he was just swinging at pitches he shouldn't have been, and he felt like he's tracking the ball better this year. So I don't know if quote unquote tracking the ball better means that he was still experiencing some issues with his eye last year, or if it means that and kind of better control of the zone type thing. And he also said that the swing he had last year, he was trying to hit the ball 500 feet, and now he realizes he only needs to hit it 330 to 340 feet. So apparently in the offseason he's learned that ballparks actually have the distance painted on the walls. Somebody pointed that out to him.
That's called the respecting 90. You don't want to just hit it 350 feet.
You gotta make sure that stuff is gone. Long gone. Along those same lines, I mean, we've seen some of Olt at first base, and I find it weird. It just seems like I haven't even heard one Rizzo at bat or yet. It just seems like he's been really quiet, and he has at the plate. I mean, he's 0 for 5, I believe, with 1 or 2 strikeouts. But he's only played in 2 games, and it makes sense though that hitters like him might have the propensity to start out a little slow out of the gate, but it just seems like the media hasn't focused on him at all either.
He's old news.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, I'm going to eventually get back to Rizzo, but one thing I wanted to talk about was Joe Madden too. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing Madden in person next week. You know, his demeanor and everything. I don't know if you guys watch the MLB channel's 30 clubs in 30 days on the Cubs. I think it was either yesterday or Friday.
I missed that.
Okay. Dan Plesac, he covered the Cubs for that series, and you know, of course you hear all sorts of statements about, you know, this time of year the best this and the most optimistic that, blah blah blah. You know, whenever there's some hype around a team, especially the Cubs, you're going to hear that type of stuff. But Plesac said that I think he said it's the most positive Cubs spring training he's ever seen. And I have nothing against Ricky Renteria or Dale Swaim, but I think that Madden's demeanor is really going to help the morale of this team. You know, he talks a lot about trust, him trusting the players trusting him. And I think if the Cubs have a bad April or really any stretch during the season, I think he's got the type of personality to stay calm. And
see, I was wondering about that. I mean, I was kind of worrying that he might not have what it takes to blow up on these guys if he needs to. I mean, don't you think like he should be able to do that if he needs to?
Well, I think that's kind of like, I don't know if you need a manager to blow up. I guess I look at it this way. I think that he seems like a very intelligent person, and I think that he probably knows what works best for different players. He's learning that right now. That's kind of the trust thing, you know. But I think that players know his history and the success that he had in Tampa. And if they have a bad stretch and he's not panicking and he's still the loose Madden that he is, I think it's going to help players stay calm and maybe not play tight. And I think that is the players trusting him, trusting that he knows what the right mindset to have is in certain situations. And I think it's going to be, I don't know, I think it's going to be good for Cubs fans too. You know, we had the Lou Piniella years, and although Lou was mellowing in his age, there was always a sense of like volatility, I guess. Then we had a couple managers that just kind of seemed like they were in over their heads, and there wasn't much to grab onto with those guys. And now we're seeing this manager with, you know, the vibes and the zen and everything. And I don't know. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch him have fun with this team.
I could buy that. I think that's a pretty good argument about him remaining even keeled in the midst of some adversity. Oh my gosh. In the midst of holy crap, I don't know what my problem is. In the midst of some adversity, for him to remain even keeled, and the players just kind of reflecting the demeanor of their manager.
Right, and I think it works well too with a young team. That I'm not sure having a man. I mean, could you imagine Lou Piniella managing this team of like basically 22-year-olds? And I don't know. I just think that he seems like the right guy with the right vibe, the right message at the right time with the right guys.
Don't you just hope though, like if somebody is doing something that's poisonous to that vibe and to the team, that he's able to be engage in some effective discipline?
Yeah, and I don't know that he doesn't do that, you know.
Right.
But he also seems like the kind of guy that, like, if somebody's doing something that's disruptive to the team, I picture him like going up and putting his arm around him and telling him, you know, quoting some lyrics. I don't know.
He takes him on to Cousin Eddie and gives him a stern talking to.
Right. But back to Rizzo in this in that 30 clubs in 30 days piece, Plesac asking him Madden about Anthony Rizzo and how he's embraced the leadership role and how solid of a guy he is. That's what Madden was talking about. And then Plesac asked him what he thought or asked him if he saw Rizzo trying to take on the whole Reds dugout. And Madden, he laughed and he was like, "That was so cool." But then it was kind of funny because he went on to talk about how one thing that he learned in managing in the AL East is that teams aren't going to give you anything. He said, the Red Sox weren't going to give the Rays the division, the Yankees weren't going to give the Rays anything, and they had to stand up and take what they wanted. And they showed a bunch of instances of Reds players scuffling and yelling at Red Sox and Yankees players, and I was just thinking about that, and I think he's right. I'm not a big brawler. I'm not an advocate for violence or anything like that. But when Rizzo went after the Reds dugout, it got me pumped up, and it was kind of exciting to see someone on the Cubs say, "We're not going to let you push us around," and especially because that whole thing started when Aroldis Chapman kind of waved his glove kind of dismissingly towards the Cubs dugout. And then I don't know. I think that's what it was. I think it was you're not going to push us around. You're not dismissing us. You're going to have to deal with us. And I think that this team probably needs the confidence that comes with standing up for yourself. And I think the fans need it too. And I don't know. I really like that answer. And I know it's kind of a meathead thing. And it's not like at the end of the year I'll be disappointed if the Cubs don't clear the benches at some point, but whether it's clearing the benches or some other less violent way, I want to see the Cubs stand up to the Reds and to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals aren't going to give the division to the Cubs, and I just want to see the Cubs stand up and take it from them. And I don't know if we have the muscles to stand up and do it this year, but I think the process can start now, and we can start I guess establishing the fact that you're going to we are going to take it from you.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Good night.
No, that's great, Corey. I agree wholeheartedly. I just think that anything we say after that inspirational rant there is kind of superfluous.
Sorry, guys. Mouse just ran across the floor.
Oh my god.
I gotta get outside. It's so warm out there.
No, I pumped him up. He must have been sitting over there in the corner. He's like, "I'm gonna go."
Yeah, I'm doing it. He's about to bite your leg.
I'm not real sure where he went.
Oh man.
Oh well.
He's pissed.
What if I'm the one he's standing up to?
You are the Reds dugout, Corey.
Oh man. Well, I don't know. Anything else you wanted to talk about, guys? Anything you've seen from or heard from spring training worth mentioning?
Well, I mean, this isn't player or game specific, but it's kind of nice to see that the 20 of the games are going to be broadcast starting tomorrow, I think, right?
Tuesday, I believe.
Tuesday, yeah.
The 10th, yeah.
There's a good run of like a whole week straight almost, and then a couple breaks here and there, but overall 20 games will be broadcast on MLB TV or Comcast. So that's kind of nice.
I don't know if it is. I don't know how many of them are Comcast. I know a couple of them are WGN. And I mean, one of the reasons that there's more this year is that some of these games, the away teams, they're broadcasting it, and so those will be on MLB.
And they're doing more of those. What are those like webcam things, I guess, or gamecasts, or they're not official full camera setups, but they got the whole behind home plate thing.
So is that what they were doing for the Giants game?
Yeah. So it's probably like the Giants recording their footage, and they just decided to air it or something, because it was just one guy behind the plate running the camera.
We talked about that last year, because I was like, okay, with technology the way it is, why can't they just stick a camera up?
Yep.
So, one thing I've noticed, it seems like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, if you watched a spring training game, the camera angles were not very good. I wouldn't say they were as bad as like minor league, the MILB.TV stuff. But it seems like I was kind of flipping around through some different games, and it seems like the camera angles are getting a lot better. Just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, for camera angles.
Well, yeah. For example, on that play of Soler throwing the base runner out at third, I thought just the camera work on that was actually pretty darn good.
Yeah, right. And I don't even know where that footage came from. What was that, Kurt?
I was just saying, it's spring training for everybody. Cameramen are on their game.
Right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that, or anything else you guys wanted to talk about before I cut us off.
Not from me.
Okay. So I mentioned at the beginning of the show that Andy and I will be in Arizona next week. We will be recording episode number 300 next Sunday night, and we're obviously going to talk about Cubs, but we're also going to use the episode to tell you about some news and some improvements to the podcast that are coming. And we usually try to make our changes here at IVMB like in the off season. And we've been working the last few months on some stuff, and so we're pretty excited to share those things with you next week. If you'll be in Arizona for spring training, or if you live out there, we're having a meetup at the Cubs Diamondbacks game on Thursday the 19th. It's a night game, so that's why we chose that game. It's at the Salt River Fields, or whatever it's called there, the Diamondbacks ballpark. There's a Facebook event for that, and I will post the link in the notes for this episode at ivmb.com. So join that, and then we can kind of coordinate everything. And Andy, I was thinking maybe I know there's a B game earlier that day, but I was thinking it'd be kind of cool too. I even mentioned this to you, but if you'd be interested in doing a Chase Field tour or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah. Are there going to be players with the bees on the field?
I don't know. I suppose first I'd want to figure out what that B game is and where it's at and everything. But anyways, yeah, just if you're on Facebook, join that event. So far I know of 11 people that are going, so it should be a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun to meet some new people, some West Coast people.
If you like jokes like that, you're going to love me.
Buy them beers.
No,
They
we
get
have to drive home the next morning.
Oh, no.
So we're going to be out there a little under a week. The last time we went out to spring training, Kurt and I, we worked way too hard. Would you agree, Kurt?
Well, yeah, and it's great that you're coming to this conclusion now as you're about to leave to go out there again. I'm feeling like the little brother who gets left out of everything because he's not quite old enough to play yet. So, yeah, I got a lot of jealousy.
I really wish you were going, Kurt. Is there anything we can
me
do?
too.
Is there any way we can make this happen?
If you know a really qualified, like, infant nanny kind of situation that, with great references.
See, Michael from Galesburg wanted to go too. I think he was kind of planning on it, and then his wife is due on Friday. So I told him, I figured, you know what? If it comes a few days early, you're good.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. I don't know. I wish you were going, but
yeah.
I mean, when you and I went before, we worked way too hard. We took a ton of pictures and videos on the backfields, and then we went back to the hotel room after the games. We did a lot of write-ups and photo slideshows and
a lot of coke.
Yep, we did. It was exhausting. So, fast forward a few years, and we have stuff like Vine, Instagram, Twitter's gotten better. Our technology on our phones have gotten better. So we probably won't do as much on the website from spring training, but we'll be doing a lot of social stuff. So pay attention to our Twitter. Everything will pretty much go through there, and we are at IVMB. So we'll be, at the backfields posting video and sharing a lot of stuff all week long. And speaking of sharing stuff socially, I learned about this new app. It's only a week old, and I've messed around with it a little bit, and I think that we might use it. And you don't have to follow us on the app, but it goes through Twitter. Like, you don't have to have the app, but it goes through Twitter, and it's called Meerkat. And what it allows you to do is stream live from your phone to Twitter. So say we're at a backfield and we're watching, Eloy Jimenez or Gleyber Torres take batting practice, I can start a live stream, or Andy can, and it goes to Twitter, so you can click and watch it live right there. And the video is actually pretty good. I've done it both on Wi-Fi and then off Wi-Fi, and it's actually pretty good. And so it just shows up in the Twitter stream. It'll say something about being live through Meerkat, and then if you're watching, you can add comments or ask questions and stuff like that. So I think I might try that because, you know, if the video's good, and Kurt, that'd be a way for you to watch some. You can see what we're seeing, Kurt.
Well, I'll be watching the games, but yeah, maybe I can watch a little practice field action.
There's going to be some live streams of Corey eating in and out, you know.
Okay, so here's, since you went on to that topic, so, you know, I'm thinking, okay, how can we use this app to let people get a glimpse of this stuff at spring training? And then I thought about some other ways that we could use it. So Andy and I are driving nonstop from Illinois to Arizona. It's about 24 hours.
No pee breaks.
No pee breaks, and we're leaving after we get off work on Friday. So we're going to work a full day and then drive to spring training. So I was thinking, like, you know, to make our time in the car a little more fun, we could just fire up Meerkat and live stream from the car at a few different points. And then I thought, no, that would be really awkward for us and probably anyone watching, because what in the world are we going to talk about? So
I don't know. I mean, we have lots of exciting things to talk about.
Okay, so then I was thinking maybe we could do like a series of AMA like they do on Reddit. Ask me anything. So if you have questions that you would like one or both of us to answer, you can tweet them at us anytime, but you know, in the next week, and then we will give you a heads up before we go live, and we'll get on there and then answer the question. So it can be about the Cubs, our podcast, chickens.
I can't wait for the 3 o'clock in the morning Friday night
Meerkat
check-in. Yeah, Meerkat feed. I will wake up for that. Just watch you guys live.
Ask Corey about his cock. I mean, his rooster. Yeah, he put up a rooster video today. That's what I was talking about.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll plan on doing the first one at like 7 p.m. Central on Friday night, and then we can do another one sometime Saturday morning. I was thinking, okay, so I haven't even talked to you about this, Andy. We're gonna go through Albuquerque, and obviously that's where they filmed Breaking Bad, and Walt's house is like a few minutes from the interstate. So I was thinking maybe we could do a Meerkat from in front of Walt's house or the car wash or something.
Oh, you're darn skippy. We can.
You need to do it. Location request number 2 is the like 50-story cross in Amarillo, Texas, or wherever that is in the middle of Texas. You drive for hours, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, hello, Jesus.
Yeah, there's a huge cross, and then you still see it for 10 miles as you're driving up on it.
It's so big.
Okay, so there's another request. So basically, we're taking any requests for Meerkat because we were going to be in this car 24 hours. We need some entertainment.
Hashtag Meerkat that.
Or hashtag IVMB on the road.
I don't think I need any distractions. This is going to be my 3rd time driving a stick ever. So I might throw that out there. Hopefully we make it.
Hopefully the transmission.
I'm going to end up driving the whole 24 hours because Andy will be too nervous. I got to stop, Andy. I got to stop.
Like,
no, just a little bit longer.
Just get it into 5th and you just cruise.
Right.
Corey's car's an automatic, so that wasn't the stick I was talking about.
I don't know. It may be a flop, but it's a really long car ride, and I thought it could be fun. So if you have anything you want us to answer, Cubs related or not, preferably not, tweet them to us anytime between now and then. You can submit them on Facebook. You can email them to me, Corey at IVMB. If they're for Andy, I won't tell him anything ahead of time, so you'll get the most authentic reaction. I guess if there's something you want to ask that you don't want me to know about ahead of time, you can email Andy. His email address is andy@ivmb.com. So, yeah, IVMB on the road.
Wow.
Now you wish you were going.
Yeah, I might figure this thing out and just hop in the car. You guys got to run through Iowa City.
Yeah, that's true. Kurt, Andy and I do need a cameraman.
At least I could be somewhat useful.
I wish
just
you were going.
Back seat and
that's such
a that.
I think like next year or the year after we need to take the families.
Oh, I don't know about that. Let's get one more year, just the three of us, no kids.
Yeah, we
do
got to
need a
do.
year with the three of us. But-
Yes.
Okay. If you would like to support this podcast and you shop on Amazon, go to ivnb.com and click on the Amazon link on the right side of the page. That takes you directly to Amazon, and you can do your shopping, and then Amazon gives us a percentage of your purchase for referring you, and it really does help us a lot. So we have a number of listener questions here to go through. I asked for these on Facebook and Twitter on Sunday mornings before we record. We are at IVMB on Twitter and ivmb.com/feedback. Feedback. Why did I say Facebook? Why did I say feedback? ivmb.com/Facebook. And then we're also at IVMB Podcast on Instagram. So the first one here comes from Matt, and he says, does it occur to anyone else that Madden looks as though the Chicago media is grinding him down already? His latest interview discussing Leicester starting opening day certainly looked that way.
I didn't see the interview, so
I just think he has some late nights. I mean, maybe they caught him. He's mentioned several times that he's not a morning person, and I don't know. I bet it's more of a lifestyle thing. I bet he was just tired from hanging out, staying up late in the Cousin Eddie or something, and
Yeah, I didn't see that.
watching The Office, binge watching The Office.
Right. I didn't see that interview, but I don't know if I've seen him look like they're getting to him. I think at some point they will get to him, and it will be interesting to see how he handles them.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything yet. But again, I didn't see that interview.
Yeah, from what I have seen too, I get the impression that a lot of the media people are still kind of in love with him, so they haven't found a way to really poke at him yet and get under his skin. They're still trying to figure him out. So
He will
I
have
hope
his.
that's not true.
I'm sure
he's-
he's going to have a press conference at some point this year where, the equivalent of "I'm a man," you, that like that type of thing.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's hope for that. Just once, I'd like to. No, I don't know. I think I really love his demeanor, and I don't know if they've gotten to him yet, but again, didn't see it. So the next question comes from Sean. He is at swaters84 on Twitter. He says, any of you know much about cricket? Been getting into it lately. Maybe UK Bob can teach us about the game. Now, do you guys remember maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, Bob typed out like an explanation of cricket, and it was hysterical.
I do remember that now.
Some
that you
faint recollection of it.
Well, I went through my old email and I couldn't find it. I tried to find it and I couldn't do it. So, Bob, if you would send that to us again, we would gladly share it.
Because Bob's just gonna send Google it. That's what he's gonna say.
Right. He had a great explanation. It
Google
was just
jerk.
really funny.
Yeah. But I don't know anything about cricket.
No.
I did watch an ESPN little snippet video about the differences of cricket and baseball. I still don't know. So that's ESPN for you. They don't actually tell you anything.
Right.
There's that stupid sports science guy that you want to punch in the throat.
ESPN
But,
doesn't
yeah.
tell you anything. That's why you should vote for us in the podcast award.
Yeah.
Because we tell you a little bit more than nothing. Nick from Wisconsin says, discuss the pitchers that are likely to be on the block mid-season, and if they are in a position to do so, who do you think they may deal for, and what would you be okay with giving up?
Oh, jeez.
And I misunderstood the question. For some reason, Andy and I were talking about this before we started recording. I thought he was talking about what Cubs pitchers would be on the block.
That's how I originally read it when I went through these too. So.
Yeah.
I think I would be all for them trying to go after somebody if there's a chance that, say it's somebody whose contract is coming to an end this off season, that they had a reasonable chance at extending that person. Maybe Jeff Samardzija comes to mind. But I would hate to see them give up a lot mid-season for a dubious, just like a shaky postseason run at best,
Right. Yeah. That's
I don't
where
see
I'm
him
at,
being
too.
in a position to sell anything of value for a rental, but I wouldn't mind seeing him picking up maybe like a kind of an upside guy with like a couple of years of control that's still under contract, but I don't know. I don't like the idea of like a rental, and giving anything at all of value for him.
Yeah, I don't see this front office doing anything drastic to make a push for 2015. I mean,
They've got more revenue coming on the books after this year, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to give up, future potential talent when you know you're going to have money to spend.
Right.
And the free agent pitching market looks pretty good next year.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be pretty strong.
Yeah, so I don't think can we come to a consensus that they're probably not going to get a big name guy for big name prospects?
Probably not, but I mean, what if they are playing surprisingly well, like above expectations?
Well, that's what we get.
It'll be hard for me to see them give up too much.
Right, because I don't. Yeah, I mean, this pitching staff is already pretty good. I don't really know if. I don't know. I just don't. I'm not sure I see it. I think it might be more likely that they would, get like Cole Hamels at some point. But that's going. They're going to have to give up a lot for him too. But I don't know. I think if I had to make a prediction, and we will be doing a prediction episode, by the way, here in the next month. I would say that they don't acquire any pitching through trade. Big name pitchers this season.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta like the position that they place themselves in, just with their off-season acquisitions and their in-house options. So
right.
I think they do have, like Kurt already said, a lot of pretty strong in-house options for the rotation and the bullpen.
Right. Benjamin says, "Are you guys going to Minneapolis in June?" And I had planned on it. That's Father's Day weekend. I think the three of us even talked about maybe trying to do something with the families up there. But instead, we're going to Houston that week. So
you're
I'm
out.
even more excited about going to Houston than Minneapolis.
I would still consider it, but I don't know. We'll see. Because we have some friends that live in Rochester, Minnesota, which is about an hour, I think, south of there. So we could probably make a weekend of it, but we haven't really talked about details yet. But now that I know Corey's not going, I might actually go.
I'm going to an Astros game. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to buy a Valbuena T-shirt jersey.
Just celebrating the bat flip even long after he's gone.
I seriously, like, when he went there, I got so much more excited about going to an Astros game. I was already pretty excited about it, but I was like, oh, Valbuena. The next question here is from Bobby, and he says, what do you guys think of Rizzo batting second? And then on Twitter, at Mr. Postman 24501 also brought up that topic and asked us, so what do you guys think? Rizzo in the 2-hole.
Well, I can't remember last season how many of his home runs were solo shots. It seems like quite a few. So I kind of like it a little bit. I mean, well, I don't know. Now that I'm kind of talking myself maybe out of it.
Can I talk you into it?
Yeah, talk me into it.
Reasons for that, because I was probably kind of along with Andy. Like, I don't really love it on the surface, but I don't exactly have all the data to back it up.
Okay, here's
why you like it.
So the more traditional thinking for the 2 spot would be like a bat control guy. So someone to move the leadoff guy into scoring position. So I guess maybe think of Ryan Theriot or something like that. But mine's
do I have to?
Or someone similar. But mindsets are changing in baseball. Batters in the 2 spot, they see maybe about 20 more plate appearances over the course of a season. So do you want to see 20 Rizzo plate appearances, or do you want to see 20 Ryan Theriot plate appearances? And then also you want a guy that gets on base in that spot, since there are good hitters behind him. And in 2014, Rizzo led the team in OBP. He was 34 points higher than the second best player, Coghlan. So I really like Rizzo in that spot. Teams that score first end up winning the game almost 70% of the time. Madden talked about the importance of scoring first in his first press conference that he did when he was hired. So I really like it. More Rizzo plate appearances is a good thing.
Well, and I think that the other thing to recognize is that the fact that they have so much power, or well, what we think will be a lot of power in this lineup, they're able to do things like this where traditionally speaking, you wouldn't put if you didn't have big guy like Baez and Soler coming after, you probably might not even consider this because you want him a little further,
right? And
3-4 spot,
right? And he's got that OBP that the other power hitters probably won't have. So you want that at the beginning of the lineup too. Did I sell you, Andy?
Yeah, put him there. All for it.
I'd be interested to see like a breakdown of like what 24, the value of 20 more at bats versus the value of maybe lost in a few RBIs.
Well, and then also, I mean, do you want to tinker with the success of last season? I mean, why not put him back where he just had so much success and not give him one more thing to think about? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really think he has to change his approach at the plate that much.
No.
I think it's good to see it in spring training, see what happens. I'm all for it. I mean, and you know what? This is what we're going to see Madden do. He's going to tinker with the lineup. He's going to do all sorts of stuff, and I don't know. It makes things more interesting. It makes things fun. I like it. Jason from New Mexico says, "How about C.J. Black and Hunter Pence?" Which Kurt probably loved.
I don't love to see a guy get hurt. I don't really like Hunter Pence that much.
If
don't
you had to pick a guy in baseball to get hurt, you'd probably pick Hunter Pence.
I don't hate him as much as I pretend to hate him, but he's just so awkward. That's why
I saw today that Pence told the media that he wanted Corey Black to know that when he yelled, he wasn't upset at him. He just knew he was injured.
Right.
And so.
Well, and Black tweeted at him after. Something's kind of like hopes he recovers quickly, and Pence did reply to him, so that was kind of a nice gesture on both of them.
As I was looking through Cubs.com trying to find internet muscle flexes. This isn't one because I couldn't find it, but apparently there was a Giants fan that commented that he wanted to see the Giants hit Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant.
Retaliation, bench brawl in spring training.
Hunter Pence equals Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo.
Yeah.
Jeez. What the heck?
Mike, who is at Trekkie Bogle on Twitter, says, when do you think the bleachers will really be open at Wrigley?
They did say, like, didn't they predict, like, left field's going to be done before right field, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not all going to be done at the same time, so I think left field was, like, what, late April or mid-April, and then right field was sometime in June.
I just honestly kind of stopped paying attention to it, and I figure if it's done before the All-Star break, then cool. And if it's not, I don't care.
Well, I mean,
they've gone.
Yeah, it will
ticket
hurt.
sales.
You're right. And it makes it more difficult for fans to get tickets too.
I mean, they've emphasized several times recently that left field bleachers are still going to be open as predicted in early May, but they have pushed back the right field bleachers. I think that the left field bleachers will be done on time. I mean, just seeing all the pictures of the progress and then seeing that warmer weather's on the way, maybe we'll have a stretch of good weather. I think it's going to happen.
Well, and then I didn't really look into this much, but did they take down the outfield wall? Is that true? I saw some comments about it, like the actual brick wall has been removed and that sort of the ivy's been preserved but isn't on the wall.
They repair the bricks.
Okay.
I think they talked about that at Cubs convention.
See, I was under the impression that the wall itself wasn't going to be removed or couldn't be removed because of part of the historical landmark
I know they
status or
laid
something
the ivy
like
down on the ground,
that.
and they talked about how they have to go in and like basically inspect the bricks and make any repairs.
Yeah.
Johnny asks, any reason to believe Olt can actually help this team win for the entire season, or do we just expect 3 weeks and never to hear from him again?
That's generally what I expect. I don't expect Olt as a long-term piece for this team.
No, I don't have a lot of hope. I would like to see him do well, but I'm definitely not going to be shocked when.
I'd like to see him recover fully and then do well and then be traded for something.
Yeah, that would be nice. JP asks a couple questions here. What are we going to do with all these catchers? What are we going to do with all these fifth starters? I still think Wellington's days are numbered.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And the fifth starters, as far as that goes, I
Kinda
like.
sorts itself out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like the depth. At least we have some depth there. So
Yeah. And you got some backup for potential injury, which we hope doesn't happen.
right. Jamie says, "What do you make of John Lester's appearance in the crowd at last night's Aston? I don't even know how to say it, Aston Villa or is it Villa?
Villa.
Aston
yeah.
Villa West Brom game.
And he's
Okay.
included a picture.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think that might be Jamie because he changed that to his user picture on Facebook. So I don't know.
No, I don't think that's Jamie.
I don't know. I don't know. Let us know, Jamie.
At any rate, the picture of this, the picture of this fella in the picture that he's included, this fellow has a phallus attached to his head, and he does look James Lester-esque.
John
So-
Lester.
I'd say James Lester. What?
You did.
Oh, because I'm thinking Jamie. I don't know. John Lester. My bad. What is the name of the Cubs ace pitcher?
Brett in the chat says, what about 3 weeks of Olt and then seeing him and Castillo and maybe a fifth starter being moved together for some talent?
Yeah, do it.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Ram it home, Cubs.
Brett says, the same Brett, by the way, says, I would like to hear any comment about how us Midwest people love, quote unquote, love hearing Lynn Casper mention the game time temperature. Makes our icicles feel a little warmer. Yeah,
Or a little colder.
I get it. It's warmer out there. I'll know next week, but it's been such a brutal winter, and last year was so miserable that like I don't like the beat reporters talking about how warm it is out there, and I don't know. It just kind of.
Although I will say that some context helps, like having been there fairly recently. Like, man, 80 degrees feels like heaven. It's so warm. So yeah, you guys at least have it to look forward to. So for you guys, it's probably like, wow, yeah, we're almost there, and for all the rest of us, it's like, shut the hell up when about the weather. But the good news is for us, we're about to get some almost 50, 60 degree weather here. So
It's going to be beautiful. It's been beautiful these last couple days. So I'm going to do my best to not brag about how warm it is.
but it
Well,
does.
that's
feel
you. That's you. You do your art, I do mine. No.
Oh
good. Andy's going to be meerkatting about the weather all week.
The entire time. Suck it, Midwest.
Don says, what kind of sacrifices should we fans be making to appease the injury gods? Players are going down everywhere. They are.
I think you just got to get out there and tear your ACL or your Achilles or something, so it doesn't have to be one of the players.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take.
Yep.
Jordan says Buster Olney picked the Pirates, Cardinals, and Reds ahead of the Cubs for the Central Division on his podcast. Thoughts? Well, I'll tell you what, there's a reason he's not a Podcast Awards finalist.
I don't think that's out of
Because
the
it's
question.
clear by us being in there that accurate information is a prerequisite to being a finalist.
He's not exactly going out on a limb like by
Right,
saying
yeah.
that the Pirates. But I will say that I don't think I think picking the Reds ahead of the Cubs is a dubious choice. I I don't really see in them as.
I agree, but on the other hand, I would not be shocked at all if they finish ahead of the Cubs. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that last year the Cubs would almost finish ahead of the Reds. It's baseball. Anything can happen
Right.
over the course of a season.
Just
I
like
mean,
we won't be shocked if the Cubs finish ahead of the Pirates and Reds. I wouldn't
Right.
be, equal lack of surprise if if it happens that way.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I can understand why, and especially if you're hearing all of the hype about the Cubs.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't know, I don't follow Buster Olney that much, but I think there's probably a lot of people, in the media and stuff that would want to take the opposing side just so that if that happens, then they can talk about how right they were. The Paul Sullivans of the group and stuff. Scott says, any concerns with the winless start to spring training? I say no, but the strikeouts are what concerns me as of now.
Yeah, I'm giving up if they lose any more games. I did text you guys about should we panic yet.
Episode number 300 will be our last if they have not won a spring training game by then.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, don't you guys think there is something to be said for winning a few of these games just for morale's sake? I mean,
I don't know.
Kind of, but the reality is though, like your starter's going 2 innings, and
Right.
after that point, you're watching a minor league baseball team.
Well, and to be honest, the
no.
starters aren't even there at the end of the game. I mean, they're leaving throughout the game.
well, I mean, like
Sosa
the
style.
team knows on an intellectual level that these games are meaningless, but just on an emotional level, I mean,
I think they're way more concerned about like whatever they're working on and what their at bats were
Yeah.
or how they're pitching. I don't know.
but I mean, let's say this keeps going, I mean, they find a win, but they end up being like 2-10 or something. I mean, doesn't that take a little bit of a toll?
I don't think so.
All
I
right.
guess a general note I would say though. I mean, I'd like to see more like we were seeing some like offense late, but like I'd like to see a little more early offense when the guys that are actually playing are in there and
Right.
some runs that way. And
I will
But
say that the
overall-
Cubs rank 18th out of 30 in strikeouts, so they are pretty far from the lead in strikeouts.
well, Baez has struck out 4 times. I mean, in his 8 at bats, so
Yeah.
we have that going for us.
But some
Well,
of the teams have played 6 games, and the Cubs have played 5.
But we're still talking about like the leader in at bats is 8. So,
Right. Right.
I mean, we talk about small sample size a lot, and we are still very much in that stage. So we're talking about small sample size of games that don't matter. So
Small sample size.
Oh, no, man.
Sample size.
I thought we were going to escape without having to hear this.
Small sample size.
Kurt said small sample size just one too many times.
Sample size. Small sample size. Small
What
sample
are you gonna
size. Sample size.
Okay, I'll fade it out.
Thank
it's
you.
a small sample size. Small sample size. It's a small sample
Can we
size.
have some iTunes
Man, that's the
reviews to read
slowest
or something?
fade
We can
ever.
Throw some Chuck on.
Okay, I'll really fade it down. Yeah, I guess I look at it as that the strikeouts are concerning, but I think the strikeouts are going to be a concern for the next couple of years. So we just need to get used to it. This team is built with power hitters strike out, and it's built with youth, young kids strike out, and so young power hitters strike out a lot, and I think that's just what it's going to be. At least they're not hitting into double plays. They're striking out.
It's only 1 out.
1 out instead of 2. I don't know, but I'm not worried about the losses or anything. I mean, it'll
I'm not really either, but it would be nice to see him catch a
right. It
win
would
here.
right. It's like since we're going next week, I would like to see the Cubs win while we're there. So thanks to everybody that sent in those questions. We do have a few iTunes reviews to read, so let me fire up the Chuck Mangione. This first one is from Dirty Hawkeye, and Dirty Hawkeye says, "Good podcast to get ready for Cubs season." It says, "Stumbled into IVMV looking for a Cubs podcast to get ready for the season. While I am a recent listener, I've enjoyed the content so far. Good substance to the point of good substance to the point of views and analysis. So thank you, Dirty Hawkeye. This next one is from, I guess it's Crow to Crow. I'm not sure. It says, great listen. This is definitely the best Chicago Cubs podcast I've come across. Their down to earth commentary is informative as well as humorous. It has even brought me to laugh out loud in my cubicle with my headphones on, which I usually try to play off as a coughing fit. Which Andy laughing does lead to a coughing fit, so that's fitting. I hope you never stop the internet muscle flexes, my personal favorite section. Thank you for keeping this podcast running. Long live Chuck Mangione.
Nice.
This next one,
the last over the Chuck.
I know. The last one here is from MHG199420014, and says, "I love this title. So good I listen at half speed."
Which, we're not the fastest talkers in the world, so
no, we're not at all. So stretching us out into like 2 hours seems really crazy.
Agony.
Okay. So it says the IVMV podcast is a well-oiled machine, as consistent as the hated Cardinals in recent years, with podcasts every week. A huge plus in the podcast world of wondering if or when the podcast you just subscribed to will release another episode. Each show includes recaps of the previous week's games and off-field moves, listener emails, and hilarious internet muscle flexes. So, thank you to MHG199420014 and Crow and Dirty Hawkeye for sending in those iTunes reviews. If you enjoy our podcast, please head over to iTunes or Stitcher and give us a review. And these reviews help other Cubs fans find our show. And because they make us feel so good, we play Chuck Mangione and read him on the podcast. Okay, so we are to the apparently very popular Internet Muscle Flex segment.
Before you get to the Muscle Flex, I just saw a tweet from Joe Madden about today's game. He said, play of the game, Kyle Schwarber making it to third base on a drop fly ball to center field. Respected 3 times 90. Loved it. I kind of enjoyed that tweet.
He must be listening to our live broadcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what's going on in Cousin Eddie right now.
Right.
Yeah, we need to send Joe over to the Patreon and
right.
What's he making, like $5 million?
Well, yeah, he's ready to buy all the B writers drinks.
After all the lovely things Corey just said about him, he should be able to kick us a little
I would think. All right, so these internet muscle flexes, if you've never, this is the first time hearing our show, we go through Cubs.com, Instagram, stuff like that, the official Cubs stuff, and find places where commenters have flexed their internet muscles. Do you guys have anything?
I have one.
I do. I have one, yes.
Okay, I have a couple, but man, I had a hard time finding anything.
Yeah, it was definitely a slower week on the comments.
How about I'll read one or two. I'll read one. This one I thought was kind of funny. Yeah, these games don't count. Keep repeating that.
All right, we will.
And then to kind of go along with that, I saw a comment on the Cubs Instagram that said, pretty much what I was expecting from the Cubs this season, 0-3.
That person was expecting a strike after the first 3 games of the season.
Right. Okay.
All right, well, I'll go next. Mine is I'll call it mediocre, but we'll see. I think the best part of it is it's on the Cubs article, but none of these people are Cubs fans based on their little avatar things. The first one comes from a Red Sox fan. It just says, and the article was about Lester Sharp and Cubs debut, and this Red Sox fan says, John less hair. And that's it. And then in response, a Blue Jays fan runs to the rescue and says, gee, that's hysterical. How long did it take you to come up with that gem? And then after that, a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, whose name has Giants in it, It says Boston stinks, so don't worry about it. But it was just saying, I just thought it was hilarious that fans of 3 different teams, none of which were the Cubs, are getting into a little banter about Lester and less hair.
All right, Andy, what's yours?
All right. Mine is on an article about Edwin Jackson
Uh-oh.
from Cubs.com, and the commenter says, "This kid's going to surprise some people this season." Talking about Edwin Jackson. With Lester on the team, I don't think he will be able to regain the number 1 spot in the rotation anytime soon. If he does, I hope it's because he's lights out, not because Lester's lights are out. Go Cubs. I just like that. So I don't know if that was sincere, about Edwin Jackson, but if so, I loved it so much.
I mean, I don't think he can go. I don't think he could be the ace. I like how he says that.
He's unlikely.
And then this comment was followed by 2 consecutive posts by the same commenter. The first one just said dunce, and then another separate post in response to it said troll.
He's just covering his bases. He could be a dunce. He could be a troll. I don't know. I'll call him.
But most likely one or the other. It's not. If he's a dunce, he's not a troll. And if he's a troll, he's not a dunce. So
Right.
Covering the bases.
See that.
Kind
I
of
did
like
see
Bronson
that.
Arroyo's best album.
I saw that comment. It was on my short list, but
Yeah, I saw it too. Okay, so I've got 2 here. The first one, the headline is Fowler irked by switch pitcher's change of hand. And the commenter says, "Whatever, Sally, hike up your skirt and swing the bat."
Jeez. Yes. Misogyny. Yay.
It's a message board, Andy. Come on. Breeding ground for misogyny. Okay, so this next one I just thought was kind of funny, and basically the flex is something that we would all be thinking, but I still found it funny. Okay, so the first person says, "Crazy coincidence. 22 years ago to the day, on March 5th, 1993, Giants pitcher Mike Jackson hit Ryan Sandberg in a spring training game, breaking his hand and putting him out of action for 6 weeks." According to the article that day in the Chicago Tribune, Sandberg's reaction was not as dignified as Pence's. Good for Hunter. Then a Giants fan comments and says, "Wow, talk about patience. The Cubs waited 22 years to exact their revenge." Cue the Twilight Zone theme.
on future Hall of Famer Hunter Pence.
I just thought it was funny. Like, I don't know. The Cubs waited 22 years. Oh, man.
And Corey Black was there. Break
Right.
Hills in one.
Right.
Corey, go out there, break his hand.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Next week is number 300. We're really excited about doing this because Andy and I will be at spring training in Arizona. Sorry, Kurt. But also because...
Don't forget to tell us about the temperature.
Right. But also because it's a milestone. I feel that 300 episodes is a pretty big accomplishment. I'm obviously a big fan of podcasting as a medium, and historically, the stat that's thrown out there is that 50% of podcasts don't make it past their 7th episode. So we're doing okay, guys.
Yeah, 300.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. You can watch it live at ivmv.com/live. Again, I'm not positive of the time. I wish we could say it'll be at 8:30, but I would guess 8:30, maybe 9 Central Time. I don't really know how the day's going to play out. So time differences and going to a game that day and everything like that. So watch our Twitter and Facebook feeds next Sunday, and we'll keep you updated. And don't forget the live streaming that we'll be doing on Twitter through Meerkat. So send us your questions, your AMA questions. It may sound silly, but 24 hours is a really long time in a car, especially after working a full day. So we'll need something to entertain us.
I just hope you make it
besides
safely.
me Besides me trying to watch Andy trying to drive a stick shift. That'll be
Sleep
entertaining
deprivation.
part of it. But
Sleep deprivation, bad driving, and smartphones. This is a recipe for.
We would like to thank all of our Patreon contributors for helping us make this episode possible. A big thanks to the guys that support at the associate producer level: Matt Macer, Anthony Hutfuls, Joshua Hansen, and Ryan Shores, and the rest of our Hall of Fame supporters: Dave, Jeremy, Charles, Dallas, Jane, Cass, Tony, Shane, Michael, John, Brian, and Richard. And we have a new Hall of Fame contributor to add into the mix here, Craig from Lafayette, California. And Craig comes in at the Ernie Banks level, so thank you very much, Craig. At this point, we have no advertising or anything like that, so we're able to pay the bills and upgrade services and equipment through the Patreon campaign. If you enjoy our podcast and you'd like to help us keep it going and improving, you can do so through Patreon for just as little as $1 a month. There are several pledging levels and perks at every level, and the perks get better as they go up. So go check out the campaign at patreon.com/IVMB. That's patreon.com/IVMB. If you have MLB.tv, you can watch the Cubs every day this week except for Monday, and some of the games will be on the MLB network, so if you have access to those, you can watch those. And some of those MLB network games are tape delayed and some are live. So don't forget, if you would like to vote for us in the Podcast Awards, go to podcastawards.com and vote for us in the sports category. And that does it for this week's episode. And until next week, and episode number 300, go Cubs.
You.
Oh.
You just reminded me, Corey, with the Patreon stuff. Did you get the Hall of Fame?
I did. I just
Whatever.
haven't printed it yet.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure you had it.
Yeah, I did get it. Thanks for sending that.
Okay.
Did you get
Oh, no problem. Yes, the image
Text.
about
You got my text today.
W's.
The
You s-
512 by 512.
Oh yeah, that too. I gotta add that to my to-do list. And that's for the app.
Yeah.
I might actually. I'll check right now. Might have it.
All right, I'm going to end the broadcast. Otherwise, we're going to go too far, and then I won't be able to cut off the beginning. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Oh, I'm messing with the wrong computer.